Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, just want to let you know that I was on UK television last week, and here's Eric Idle interviewing me.
Ham sandwich, bucket and water plastic Duralex rubber McFisher's underwear. Plug rapid emulsion, thick custard without sustenance in Kipling Duff geriatric scenery. Maximises press insulating devilment, grunting sapphire clubs incidentally. But tonight, Sanpan Bombay Bermuda in diphtheria rustic McAlpine splendour. Rabbit and fat-fat-fooey jugs rapidly big bio rule liners must green gauges micturate with nipples and tiptoe rustling machinery, rustically inclined. Good evening and welcome.
Hello.
Foreskin mousetrap view Mount Everest tin tray lobotomy in England.
Saddleback. Lechery billboard kettle bum, simpering, snuff masticated, bow side, handset, lemonade enterprisingly appetite, rubber eyes, plum joint, curvaceously mucking squirrels.
I see. Rapidly piddle-pot strumming Hanover peace pudding mouse rumpling cutlery corridor cabinets.
Sick in a cup. Door jam whisper tap Sunderland shower curtain, ice wallpaper cups crouchingly, rubber king wrap butter kissing feathers, definitely pheasantry daughter, successfully douche, dinner bottom.
Machine wrapped with butter?
Machine wrapped with butter.
So, nail-attacking butterfly clouts reputedly. With that I might galvanise sugar. Elbow-wrenchingly heartfelt until perspicaciously raddled mandibles on asinine shoestring drawn to lost 3 butter machismo were never cobbled therein. Good night.
Good night.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. All out of public.
Here we go. Tonight, on the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. It's the aftermath. Basically, it's all the shite that I couldn't fit into the Tuesday show or on Sackheads from last night. It's Thursday at the aftermath. It's April 13th, 2017. And tonight, President Trump sends a 23,000-pound message to the planet. Judge Napolitano was correct. The ACLJ says Obama admin used surveillance to smear opponents. Hey, Kim Jong Un plans a Day of the Sun celebration. Get it? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Day of the Sun. How hot is it going to get for you, Kim Jong Un? Then we have the East Coast, I should say, political goddess tonight. At the bottom of the hour, Kari, Baxter, Donovan. Also, we're going to talk about many different aspects of Islam because it wants a stake in you, in your life, and literally a stake in you. Islam walks in. It takes over. Sweden may be starting to wake up. And we have Neil Gorsuch, who was sworn in as the newest Associate Justice. There's so much to talk about. Don't even know if we're going to get to half of the stuff at the bottom of the list. Stephen Gern. Going to play the video about him. He took a stand recently with regard to Islam. We're going to talk about Elizabeth Warren. She is the perfect Democrat hypocrite. And there is so much more at the saloon. There's so much going on. Number one, why don't I turn my headphone sound up a little bit? You know, the funny thing is, I was thinking about this, and, I forgot, damn it. I forgot my manners. My mother always slapped the crap out of me. She said, remember your manners. Thanks to Mike in chat. Thanks to Dave in chat. Welcome aboard, gentlemen. With luck, there'll be some more. You too can do that also, folks. We're listening live right now. If you're listening to me in podcast, well, sorry, you can't get in chat because it's already closed. But if you have the time at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. on the left coast, get in, listen live, and you can get involved in chat as well. And sometimes the information in chat gets pretty interesting. I was thinking the other day, because there's so much going on, BZ, I have a 2-hour show on Tuesday. I have the Aftermath show on Thursday. And literally, I started the show on Thursday because I discovered rapidly that I just had too much stuff for Tuesday. 2 hours, I thought, my first couple of shows, I thought, my God, how will I possibly come up with enough content to fill 2 shows, or 2 hours, rather. A lot of people just on the internet have a one-hour show once a week. And once I got a couple of 2-hour shows under my belt, I began to realize there's too much stuff that I want to talk about. And normally I'm not a very garrulous kind of individual. But the 2-hour show, here's how wacky it's getting. There's so much buttery goodness in terms of news these days that I was thinking, I wonder what it would take to have a 1-hour show at night, every night of the week. Then I came to my senses because after doing what I did for 41 years, and I'm now a retired fat, jolly elf kind of individual who has just a reprehensible contract. It is shameless indeed with the SHR Media Group. I thought, wait, I just retired. Why would I want to put myself in the place of going back to work every day of the week? But sometimes there's just so much stuff going on. It makes me think, if I only could have a radio show this week, this is what I'd talk about today. This is what I'd talk about the next day. In chat, Dave Bilna says, sadly, I think it's a little bit too late for Sweden, but it's worth discussing. And Mike says, it is too late for Sweden to wake up. Mary Brockman. She has her own personalized chair, and it's empty at this point. Hey, hello. In chat, we have my White Mamba, who is our requisite attorney at law here at the saloon. So welcome to you, White Mamba. But first of all, we have to start out with basically the news of the day. And this is from, there's a headline that says, the mother of all bombs. U.S. forces drop massive non-nuclear bomb in Afghanistan. Well, that's exactly what happened. The funny thing is, there's a lot more to that than just a non-nuclear mother of all bombs. That's not what it's called, really. And there's a very distinctive reason for it having been selected to be used.
News can confirm now that the U.S. has dropped a large bomb in eastern Afghanistan after a Green Beret was killed fighting ISIS there. Jennifer Griffin is at the Pentagon right now and has all the breaking details. This is breaking right now. Jennifer, what do we know?
Well, Sandra, this is not just a large bomb. It is the largest bomb in the Air Force arsenal. It's known as the Massive Ordnance air blast, Moab, also called the mother of all bombs in common parlance by the Air Force. And we've just been able to confirm with the Pentagon that the U.S.
Stop. Remember that name, Massive Ordnance Air Blast. There's a reason the word air is in there. That's where it gets delicious.
U.S. Air Force in Afghanistan in Nangarhar province dropped this bomb, which is 21,000 pounds of ordnance. It's the first time that it has been used in combat. It dropped it in Nangarhar province, not far from where that Green Beret Special Forces soldier was killed on Saturday. He was killed in small arms fire as he was going against some ISIS targets in Afghanistan. Now we understand that this 21,000-pound bomb has been dropped not long ago. Again, it has never been used in combat before. It was developed by the Air Force in 2003. We started hearing about it at the start of the Iraq War. I remember it was often talked about in terms of a potential weapon to be used in the event that there were military strikes against Iran's nuclear program, because this is a very special kind of bomb that is a concussive weapon. It does not penetrate into the ground, but in fact it is capable of destroying tunnels and a large surface area. So we're getting more details right now, but this has just occurred in Afghanistan as far as we know.
Stop right there just for a second. It is the Moab. People call it the mother of all bombs, but it is in fact the largest non-nuclear device currently in the U.S. Air Force arsenal. It's similar, well, actually, its predecessor is the Blue 82, and the Blue 82 had its origins as the term daisy cutter. The Blue 82, the Lockheed C-130 is old enough that it flew around in Vietnam and before that in the 60s as well. What you would do with the Blue 82 is you'd use that to create LZs in Vietnam when we were fighting the Vietnam War. It literally was kicked out the back of a C-130, and the pilot had to be very careful because once he lost that load, the plane would tend to jump upwards. It was on a big cradle, a big slide. You pulled the parachute and it pulled it out the back of the C-130, but it looked like the Blue 82 looked like it was basically a Volkswagen minivan, and it would drop. It was a heavy bomb, just a dumb bomb, and it would drop essentially kind of sort of maybe close to where you wanted it, but it never did go exactly where you wanted it. But it had so much ordnance in it, and it was just nothing but bare, naked explosives. And you would use that to create an LZ for your helicopters. And that would clear a clearing of maybe 500, 600, 700 feet. And it would completely destroy and rip apart all the vegetation in that area. Then you had instant landing zones. I had a friend that was a combat helicopter pilot during Vietnam. And he said, absent that, if it was a jungle-type situation, what they would do they would create their own LZ. And using the blades, they would attempt to chop through the jungle to create their own LZ. Incredibly, incredibly dangerous. Now, what about the Moab that we have right here? They called it an air bomb, M-O-A, air. It's a fuel air bomb. What do we know when you mix liquid, an explosive, a flammable liquid with air? Remember the fire triangle? Heat, oxygen, and a flammable product. When you basically liquidize a flammable product, you've created a massive, massive weapon. This thing explodes, it drops fuel, and then ignites the fuel before it impacts. That's what's going down the tunnels. That's what makes this an incredibly effective weapon. And by the way, Dave Milner, they were Hueys. He never flew a Cobra. He flew Slicks.
About that, Jennifer, the tunnels that you mentioned, what more can you tell us specifically about the area in which this large bomb was dropped?
Well, Nangarhar province is in eastern Afghanistan. It's along the Pakistan border, a very mountainous region. It is not clear how, what is baffling at this moment in time is how would one know that there were not civilians in that area, because this is a very mountainous area, and the bomb blast radius for a bomb that is 21,000 pounds. Just to give you some idea, Sandra, a Tomahawk missile has 1,000 pounds of warhead on it, explosive on board. And remember, 59 of those Tomahawks were fired into Syria. We saw the effects of those blasts. So it's really hard to imagine. I think we're getting a video right now of the Air Force test of the Moab, the massive ordnance air blast. And you can see that it is a massive blast. Clearly, this is designed to send a signal not only to those ISIS fighters in Afghanistan in the wake coming just days after that Green Beret was killed in that very same area, but also given all that's going on around the world right now, and with the Pentagon anticipating that North Korea could carry out a sixth nuclear test in the coming days to mark the anniversary of the North Korean, the birthday of the North Korean leader's grandfather. Clearly, this is designed to send a signal to U.S. adversaries that the U.S. has quite a range of weapons in its arsenal, and to deter any kind of adventurism in the coming
Jennifer.
days.
Fox News.
What I heard about that, I was listening to a number of people talk today that didn't know what the hell they were talking about when they quantified this as just basically another dumb bomb. It's not. It's GPS guided, and it's much more pinpoint accurate than any of the other bombs that we've had of that magnitude, certainly the Blue 82. It's interesting, Dave Milner in chat says that his father worked at Bell Helicopter during the 60s and was very proud of their products. The guy that I spoke to, actually, he was one of the guys that worked for me for a while in the aero detail. And I'd get helicopter rides. It was a whole lot of fun. He said they went through blades like crazy, and they, of course, had some that crashed because of that. But they did it because the Huey was such a strong and durable vehicle for that sort of thing. But the Moab is a fuel-air mixture bomb. Once exploded, it doesn't explode before it explodes, I should say, before it comes in contact with the land. And that it creates literally a firestorm, as Mike mentions. It's not entirely unlike the firebombing of Dresden, which was terrible, which was the worst non-nuclear bombing in the history of the planet during World War II. It is the largest non-nuclear device in the U.S. Air Force arsenal, and I'm sure that one of the major reasons they did it is if you ever go to Google or if you look at some of the examples of one of these things cooking off, the first thing you notice about it a few seconds after the impact and the burst is that this thing looks like a nuclear weapon. It has a mushroom cloud similar to a nuclear weapon. And when people would drop these things in Vietnam, Blue 82s, the Vietnamese would think that they had been nuked, although, of course, they had not. This is called, as I said in the opener, this is called Donald Trump's 23,000-pound message to a few nations. Let's see, one of them would be Afghanistan, of course. Syria. North Korea as well, perhaps. North Korea. Very interesting. There's another point, The Guardian. I'm going to change topics just for a moment. By the way, Dave Milner, true or false on this question? Was the Huey, the Iroquois, the largest mass-produced airframe ever in the U.S. Army inventory, in the U.S. Air Force inventory? Actually, it was flown by the Army at the time. You can get back to me in chat. There's an interesting article that just came out from The Guardian. It says British spies were first to spot Trump team links with Russia. Now, you have to consider in the process of reading this story that The Guardian is quite a left-leaning organization, so I'm not really considering what it is that they say, but I'm considering what it is that they got and how they got it. Listen to this just for a moment. Britain's spy agencies played a crucial role in alerting their counterparts in Washington to contacts between members of Donald Trump's campaign team and Russian intelligence operatives, The Guardian has been told. GCHQ first became aware in late 2015 of suspicious interactions between figures connected to Trump and known as suspected Russian agents. A source close to UK intelligence said, stop. Wait, isn't this the same shite that Judge Napolitano was fired behind off Fox News because he had the tinfoil hat-wearing kind of temerity to state that he had sources indicating that the UK's GCHQ was involved? What this means, again, is that you don't necessarily need to go to a FISA court in order to surveil people if you have a reason and you have, air quote, friends. Judge Napolitano was since reinstated to Fox News. And now, there's more information on the opposite side of the pond from the UK that the British people were indeed complicit in doing this. Now, the article is indicating that they came across this information. Well, what if someone made a phone call across the lovely waves and said to, I don't know, MI6, and said, would you be on the lookout for some stuff we're looking for? And this is the Obama administration saying this, of course, because you're talking about 2015. Would you be on the lookout for a few things for us? We'd really appreciate it if you could. See, these are called suspicious interactions. Suspicious interactions. I'll let you read the rest of the crap of that article, but I wanted to point it out because Judge Napolitano, kind of like Donald Trump, says some things that at first blush you think, that can't possibly be true, until it turns out that it's true. How bizarre is that? Terribly bizarre. I'm going to shift gears again because these are sound bites and I want to get them in before Kari Baxter Donovan, the East Coast political goddess, calls in at the bottom of the hour. This is interesting because in Minnesota now, you'll love this, these are your Minnesota tax dollars at work. Muslim refugees on lifetime welfare are now demanding that their free food be halal compliant at food banks in Minnesota. Can't wait. Oh, that's wonderful. Now it says it can't be played. I bet it can. Hold on one second. Refreshing.
Products that do not compromise their religious beliefs. Rich Chapman has more on the movement to create a halal or kosher food shelf.
Food shelves can be a lifeline for people dealing with poverty and hunger, but many in the Somali American community say finding a food shelf that caters to their religious dietary restrictions of no pork is almost impossible.
Some food shelves are trying to meet the need, but some of them already got canned beans that are already mixed with pork because there is an illiteracy issue here.
This group of first-generation Somali Americans say they need help in developing a food shelf that specializes in healthy foods, food that has no pork or pork byproducts.
It's about human rights, also basic human rights, to get the proper food.
That's right. They have human rights to have halal food when they're sticking their hands out for a free cheese handout, courtesy of the Minnesota taxpayers. As far as I know, there could be some federal tax dollars in there as well, and there probably are. But here's the question I have. Isn't this interesting? Muslims get to demand that they want halal food. What about people that are diabetics? Do they get to demand that only food suitable for diabetics can be given to them? What about people that are gluten intolerant? Shouldn't they be considered as well? Well, certainly they should. If you cater to these people over here, you should be catering to the diabetics, and you should be catering to anyone else that wants their free food given to them on a plate just as they wish.
And also healthy food.
With signs in hand, they marched the Hennepin County Commissioner's office to ask Peter McLaughlin for help. Most live in his district and feel he can help them help themselves.
I think we had staff work that was just done, and it's not complete.
McLaughlin and the group disagreed over the availability of halal or kosher food at food shelves in Minnesota.
That's what we need to understand. The staff indicated that there are a couple, and we can share that. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We can figure that out.
He did say they would need to petition all county commissioners for the money to make this food shelf a reality.
No, that's not possible. We want what we want when we want it, and we want it now. Then we're going to protest and demand that you give it to us in the exact same fashion that we want it as soon as possible, because after all, we're Muslims. Wonderful. Doesn't that make you think, doesn't that make you feel that your tax dollars really, really are going well? They're well placed. What about what happens, however, when you're in the UK and you just happen to be walking down the street with a cross in your hand and you have a Muslim man that tells you to get the fuck out? Are you jealous that we're taking over? Let's see if
it's your country, is it? Yeah.
Your country? What, it's a Christian country. It's a Christian country. Yes, it is. This is a Christian country.
You're jealous that we're taking over?
You're not taking over. No.
Why are we jealous you're taking over?
Why are you taking?
This is a Muslim guy saying, are you jealous that we're taking over? I wonder if that's Islam's plan. No, nothing like that.
Taking over. How are you taking over?
Mate, we've got it, mate. We've got it.
You've got it. Is that what you think? You haven't got faith. But you've got people scared. You don't have us scared. No. You think you can take over town and tell us that it's your country? You've taken over. Not for long. See this cross? This will prevail. This is the British town. I'll come here where I like. I'll walk where I like.
But if you had a Muslim symbol, you wouldn't say anything.
Hold on a minute. Why is this so offensive?
Fuck you! We fucking hate you, motherfucker! That's why.
Now they're surrounded by Muslims who are telling them, fuck you. This is in the UK.
Whoa! Stay back.
That's why. Just like that. What's wrong with this? What's wrong with this? Oh, really?
This is a woman talking to the other chick that's holding the cross. You shouldn't be out dressed like that, meaning that she's not covered in a hijab.
Really? You're being hidden because your men can't control their areas. How about you covering us so that you don't get raped? That's why this is a Christian country. This is a Christian country. This is a Christian country.
Christian nation? The UK? No, it's not. It used to be. It's going downhill. Number one, these people are not having children. I should say the people in the UK are not having children, and they're not procreating. They've decided that there's a problem. It's not working out. It's not working out for them at all. Let's listen to the rest of the video. Kari Baxter Donovan called in. Kari, if you can hear me, we're going to finish this. We're going to go to the break at the bottom of the hour. I haven't put you on hold, but I have you there. I see that you've called in. We're going to play this, and we're going to hit the commercial break, and then we'll be right back over to you. So let's continue.
Fucking flag. So we were walking through. We're not getting things thrown at us. We were walking through Bury Park High Street campaigning. We've got Christian crosses with us, and we just literally got mobbed. Muslims came out from every angle. Muslims told us that they've taken our country. We're not welcome. It's not a Christian country. They've taken over and we need to leave.
The English people, as you could see there, that van there, they're very supportive, the local English.
There are very few of them here, but the ones that are here, they have been entirely supportive.
Dave in chat, thank you for telling me that. It's what I say, Dave, in terms of Islam. Demography is prophecy. If you can outproduce, you will win. Period. It's no more simple than that. And I've been called a terrible, terrible name, a series of terrible names about that, but it's actually true. Listen up. Listen up, Western civilization, demography is prophecy.
They were thanking us for coming. They said they've taken over. They said this is no longer ours, it's no longer Britain, that they will drive us British people out and take over our country. They said it's not a Christian country, it's now an Islamic country. They said that I should cover up. Their women are covered up there. Some of them are hurling abuse. You know, it doesn't resemble Britain anymore.
You'll take over what?
Yeah.
And there they go. They said, hey, we're going to take over. Is it entirely impossible? At this rate, the way the Galps are going on both sides of the pond, is it impossible? I don't think it's impossible. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, Kari Baxter Donovan will be on the air. I will introduce her. She is, in fact, without a doubt, the East Coast political goddess. Please come back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Kafka is stupid.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sako as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver of Common Sense show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on SHRmedia.com and HighPlainsDailyNews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where insanity reigns supreme and safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, it's comforting to know an ancient, fat, long-haired, bearded reprobate has your mind in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. And despite every attempt by the SHR Media Network to revoke his shameless contract, we return to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
Boys and girls, everyone, children, people on the streets, run in fear. Kari Baxter Donovan is here. She is the East Coast political goddess. Kari Baxter Donovan, do I have you on the air?
You do. Hello. Good evening.
It's great to see you. You are the mother of all political bombs. We're waiting to have you explode on the show. You are like your own volatile fuel air mixture calling in live from the East Coast, and that's why you're on the SHR Media Network, and that's why the bloviating Zeppelin wants you here live in the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. How's that for an intro?
Oh, that is awesome. I was kind of falling asleep, and I'm so glad you just, like, jolted me awake. It's going to help a lot.
All right. All right. Hey, welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure, always. Now, we had you on once before, and I think it was about a month ago or so. And we learned that you are really into politics. You're clued in on politics on the East Coast. You're happy that we have a new regime installed into the White House under President Trump. And you, if I'm not mistaken, you said that you were a little bit enchanted with one particular individual that happens to be an advisor to Donald Trump.
Steve Bannon fangirl, yes.
Yes, would you not say that it has been an interesting couple of months for Steve Bannon?
It really has been. Yes, and now I have to preface that by I have not met him. I don't know him. I don't have a connection with him. So I don't have any inside information or anything.
Well, that's okay.
I think I get him. I think I hear his song, sort of. Yeah, so that's where my enchantment comes from.
All right, let me start the show out with this. And like I said, I mean, if you want, depending upon your time schedule or whatnot, it's if you want to take it from the bottom of the hour here up to the top of the hour. If you want to go beyond the top of the hour, just let me know what you want, and I'll adjust the show as need be.
Okay,
but
cool.
I'm here for you. If you want to weigh in on all this stuff. My first question to you first, though, would be, do you have any particular thoughts about what the hell is happening in the White House with regard to Steve Bannon?
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I make it this thing, Steve Bannon fangirl hashtag, right before CPAC, just because I thought, hey, I don't like the way that people are kind of kicking him around. I'm going to go and I'm going to make a series of hashtags. So I had Neil Gorsuch, fangirl, Jeff Sessions fangirl, Steve Bannon fangirl. But Steve Bannon is my favorite. So then also I missed him at CPAC, and I come home and I just start, pounding Steve Bannon fangirl and finding things, to promote him in a positive way, because I felt like the media was really bashing him, and I didn't like that. So this thing explodes with the last week, right? Has that been a week? And I fell out of the news today, but I was trying to do some prep on what was going on, and I noticed that Mike Chernovich had a story about, he started talking about the supposed Kushner-Bannon fallout, right? Is that what we're seeing in the news all over the place now? And immediately when I first started hearing about that, I'm thinking to myself, the first time I heard it was with Roger Stone was talking about it on InfoWars and was saying something, and I was thinking to myself, I don't really understand. This doesn't make sense to me. So I'll just bookmark it, and I'll go do my Steve Bannon fangirl stuff all over the place, and come back to this. Now, I think from what I'm seeing fall out is that it's psyops. And then Mike Chernovich tonight had a story about it really has much more to do with McMaster and his ground war in Syria, and that who's really after him is not Kushner, because it just doesn't make sense to me, that the brother or the son-in-law is going to go after the advisor, and I'm thinking to myself, in order to believe that story to be true, you have to believe that they're all a bunch of children.
Well, that's exactly what the media would. That's what the media would want you to believe. That the House, just when you said, just when the Republicans and the GOP and the conservatives were saying that, oh, finally, we're going to have some real adults at the table. Now they're saying, adults? You don't have any adults. All you have is fighting children.
Right. So I was always a little bit suspicious of it myself. What really struck me was thinking, Steve Bannon, from the person who I've been analyzing, again, I don't know him, but just from the work that I've seen of his and analyzing him and things that he has said, he's not the kind of person who's going to be swayed by candy. He's not a little child. Why would I'd have to go there first in order to believe this story to be true. So I just don't believe it. I think that there's probably a good reason why people like Roger Stone are continuing on. You sent me a link on Twitter. Right.
And funny thing is, I may use you as an experiment right now, because I don't know if I play.
Okay, then.
This is all new for me. I don't know if I play a video, and it's going to be a video from the link that I sent you, and it's an interview with Roger Stone. I'm going to play it. I think it's about 53 seconds or so it's not going to take too much time. I'm unsure if people who call in can hear what I'm playing over the phone and then respond to it. So if you can't hear it, let me know. But it's only going to be about 53 seconds. At the conclusion of the video, I'll tell you that it stopped. People in the air listening live will be able to hear it. But I'm curious if you can. If you can, wow, an entire world has opened up to me. But
something new to play with. Awesome.
I know. It's great. It's like a kid with 3 computer screens in front of him. It's so fun. All right, now this is an interview with Roger Stone, and I believe it's on, I think this is Chuck Todd, if I'm not mistaken. It could be somebody else because I can't see from the initial frame. Let's play it and see what we can hear.
Yeah. Well, I'm a friend of You're a friend of his, and you, I think, share a little bit more of his ideology than perhaps that would be fair Mr. Kushner or Mr. Priebus. If he's getting elbowed out, what does that tell you?
Well, it tells me a couple things. First of all, I think Steve made an error by not spending any of his political capital to bring other Trumpites and non-globalists into the White House circle. So now...
He didn't do a good job staffing the White House.
Okay, stop. Have you heard any of that?
No, I heard it when you sent it to me on Twitter, but guess what? I heard it again.
Okay, you're hearing this over the telephone.
Whole new I am. There's your whole new world.
You are hearing this over your telephone.
I'm so excited for you.
You
yes,
really are?
I heard it.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
You broke me.
I'm so excited for you.
I'm a virgin, and after you, I'm no longer a virgin. This is great.
The power I have.
I know. I
love it.
Tell you that there's a reason I call you goddess, all right? Do you finally see what? It's just insight.
I don't know about that, but okay, thank you.
This is interesting because Roger Stone now is saying that Steve Bannon made a mistake because he didn't invite more like-minded individuals into the White House. So let's play a little bit more.
Alone.
Reince Priebus and Jared Kushner did.
Yes, and so therefore now he's alone and he's surrounded. I think unfairly, perhaps, he takes the rap for the fiasco surrounding health care. Maybe Reince should be wearing a bit more of that. The travel ban is also probably counting against him, although I would argue that in Donald Trump's case, he only suffers politically, not when he's defeated, but when he stops trying.
Wow. I played it. You could hear it. Now I can actually interact with people over the telephone when I play videos. God bless you, Kari Baxter Donovan. That was great. Okay, now that we know that Roger Stone...
I am pleased to have been of service. Yes.
Oh, yeah, this is a first. I'm being just too weird about it, but I'm really excited for this because now I get to interview somebody. Cool. It is cool. When someone calls in, now when I try to make a point with a video or some audio, people can respond to it. So thank you for playing in the experiment.
Yeah, totally.
Really appreciate that.
My pleasure. Yes.
So now... I'm going to throw it over to you. Roger Stone says Steve Bannon made a mistake and didn't invite enough like-minded people into the Oval Office, while at the same time Jared Kushner did. So now it looks like it's a matter of numbers. Do you think that's true?
Well, again, so when I heard that, what I thought to myself was, first of all, he's not giving me any quotes. I keep asking people for quotes from Steve Bannon saying that he's being mistreated and run out on a rail or something. Still, there's no proof of that. So I'm wondering if the whole thing isn't just about, they're claiming the narrative now. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it sure does make all of the people who are jumping up and down about Steve Bannon, because there were hashtags going on Fire Kushner, Keep Bannon, and there was a lot of momentum there. And so now they could really make the case of we need a lot more people around Trump who have this populist view, right? But I don't know that there's really an emergency. I hear the words that he's saying, but I think they mean something else. And yes, I really want President Trump to be successful, and I do really like Steve Bannon. So I know that I'm biased, but I don't think that it's clouding me completely. I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking that nothing I hear them say is what is actually going on. I have to figure it out for myself because it's all just a bunch of psyops. So I hear that there's this war between Kushner and Bannon and that he's chasing him out and it has to do with Ivanka and all of this drama and like gossip. But what's the reality? So,
well, the reality is what the media tells us.
And again, so what is the purpose of that? I think that we're not going to know what the purpose of that particular thing is for a few more days. That's kind of how it happens in this Trump cycle. You get this little tidbit, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, and you noodle it out, and then you just can't get your grip on it until a couple of days later something else happens. It's like, oh, that's how that fits in.
The only thing that I've heard...
what that means. I don't really know.
I've heard recently, and basically the only thing I've heard from Donald Trump regarding this is boys and girls, play nice together in the sandbox, or I will come in and I will make things fit. Other than that, I haven't heard him particularly take one side or the other. Have you heard anything different from President Trump?
No, I haven't. And I've been searching around trying to figure out what is the purpose of this story. Because once again, I don't believe that President Trump is the kind of man who's going to have this drama fest out in public unless it serves some purpose for him.
Ding, 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 ding. Bingo, bingo, bingo. Okay.
It's all, to me, so confusing.
The logical extension to me is... Now, take Donald Trump out of the White House. Put him into the boardroom of Trump Enterprises at a long ebon table. And he's got a whole bunch of people around the table. Would he tolerate that shite in business on that building? And if he wouldn't tolerate it there, what makes you think that he's going to tolerate it in the Oval Office or around him? I have a thought on that. What are yours?
I just don't. Okay, what is yours? Well, no, what is yours? Because I don't know if I have. I get so confused. I'm so confused the last couple of days. What is yours?
I think Donald Trump is torn, and he's torn in two completely different directions. Literally on the right-hand side, there's Steve Bannon almost by himself. Now, maybe you can give me some information about this in just a bit once I make my point. Maybe it's Steve Bannon and Reince Priebus on the right shoulder of Donald Trump. On the left shoulder of Donald Trump is Jared Kushner and Jared Kushner's wife, Ivanka, Donald Trump's daughter. So now I'm wondering, is it politics on the right, family on the left, and he sees it as a dividing line? How do I kind of please both? I feel compelled to move to the left sometimes because, after all, Ivanka is family. I kind of perceive that he may be torn in that fashion. Now, Kari Baxter Donovan, whom we're interviewing, who is the East Coast political goddess, any thoughts on that in particular?
Well, maybe I'm completely out of it. I think that he's gotten this far and that he knows who he is and he knows what he wants to do.
Okay.
And nobody is going to be able to persuade him. Being that of a daughter pulling his heartstrings like people are claiming, that doesn't make sense to me. That he would get to where he is now and know who he is. Like you go back to that OODA thing. He knows who he is. He knows what he wants to do, and he knows where he wants to go. So why would he allow all of this emotional, baggage to come into his loop, into his decision making? Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a father. I'm a mother. It certainly wouldn't. My daughter crying isn't going to make me feel any differently about my decision making.
It's a factor.
I have a hard time with that.
I was wondering, all right, so in my perception, it seems to me that that's what the media is attempting to do, as to specifically draw a complete, concrete line between sort of the New York individuals on the left, and Steve Bannon is out in the universe all by himself. And the reason he's finally getting himself there is because his views are so out of the mainstream that finally Donald Trump is realizing he's so far to the right, I can't listen to him anymore. Is that right?
Which is what the media wants us to believe, for sure, and what the pundits want us to believe, for sure. What I think is they might be playing them and using their systems to create diversion from all of the leftists, their resist organizations. We haven't heard anything about anybody protesting for a long time. I think that they're kind of riding that and saying, okay, yeah, we'll go and we'll make up all of these stories and things and just feed you with all of this gossip to keep you preoccupied while we're off doing a whole bunch of really great things. And you're not complaining about any of those things because you're over here eating up gossip. You can't, it's all gossip. And it is kind of funny to me. So then again, I don't know, maybe I'm being too naive and maybe there really is poor Steve Bannon off. I mean, who would leave him alone? He's fascinating. Come on, you have to bring him in and start chatting with him. He's not all alone floating off someplace. I just don't believe that.
So basically you're saying...
But maybe I'm wrong. But I am open to maybe I'm wrong because it's so confusing, right? It's not, this is the first time I've been this confused about trying to figure out what's going on in politics. Excuse me.
We know that before he even got there, Steve Bannon was quantified. I mean, if you listen to what the news media, what I term the American media maggots, had been saying about Steve Bannon, that he is the devil incarnate. He is Satan. All he does is he tucks his tail down his pants every day so that you can't see the spiked tip. And he wears a hat primarily so you can't see his horns. That's even before he got into the White House. And I think a bunch of that stemmed from the fact that he is a Breitbart individual and came from Breitbart News. So he was absolutely excoriated even before he stepped one foot into the White House itself. It's bread and circuses, I think, from the American media maggots. So the question is, what do you think Trump will do in the future in terms of his... See, Jared Kushner is he's very close. He just got sent back over to Europe and the Middle East. You're serious if you take this guy and send him on a trek like that. So there must be some form of trust in him to do that.
Oh, for sure, right. And he's talking about, but Steve Bannon talks, I think, is really instrumental in the Trump campaign with domestic issues. And Steve Bannon, if you notice when they did did you see the hashtags that they did?
No,
I think that was Jack Posobiec, and I'm not sure who else. Somebody else started a hashtag, basically like, we're going to just show all this support for Steve Bannon. Now, with the MAGA crowd and the millennials and the young people, Steve Bannon is an icon. So Trump is not going to get rid of him. Otherwise, he's wiping out his entire MAGA crowd, right? And that's just not smart. He couldn't have gotten where he is today if he would do something that stupid.
Yes, that's absolutely true. But I think perhaps my more focused question to you is, I think things really change from when you're an outsider, now you're the nominee, now you're the president-elect, and then that next day you actually walk into the White House and hear your first PDB. And I think somehow that changes you.
There's some truth to that. I guess it's going to be interesting to watch to see what happens. I think that if the two of them are not getting along, or if they are completely having different opinions, that he might set one off over this way and one off over that way and keep them separated. If there really is this, I would think, I'm guessing,
I think Roger Stone had a very good point in terms of
very confusing.
when he said Steve Bannon coming in, that's a good thing. Steve Bannon's mistake was not bringing some other like-minded individuals with him. So, Kari Baxter Donovan, that begs this question from me to you. Where does Reince Priebus fit into all of this, or does he?
And so I'm surprised that Reince is still around, to be honest with you.
Yes.
And I do believe that he is the problem with the healthcare. You know, and then there's all of this GOP politics, which, you know, Reince is really the key to that, where Steve isn't and Kushner isn't. But I think he, you know, with Paul Ryan, the two of them are inseparable. I'm surprised he's still around. I figured he was going to be there for a few days. Something was going to happen and he gets kicked out. Again. So it's an interesting thing to watch. I was reading an article from Conservative Treehouse, and I wrote it. The headline, my headline was, "This explains to me what I'm thinking," because I have all of these thoughts that I can't get to put into a line. I can't make them linear, right? And they're just all over the place trying to figure out what the heck are these guys doing. I think I got it, and then it slips away from me. And so basically, this article from Conservative Treehouse was saying, hey, just hang on. This is going to be a bumpy ride. We are going to be hated, and we are going to be loved. You're going to be in the MAGA, out of the MAGA. All of these things are going to happen because what these guys are doing is so different from anybody else that we've ever tried to analyze before.
Well, just by doing that, just by being different, just by, you know, throwing your cat poop out of the cat box and thinking out of the cat box, so to speak, just that in and of itself has been just a cruncher, and a lot of people can't get used to it, particularly the American media maggots who had all their little seats changed when that happened. The other thing that I've noticed that's interesting, Kari, is these days, and I've specifically noticed it in the past week, maybe the past 2 weeks, every time you see a picture of Steve Bannon, he's funcing, he's got a little frown going on, the Steve Bannon frown, and his nose is red like he's been drinking for 75 days straight, and his hair's all disheveled, and he's got this Steve Bannon frown going on, and he looks really sad, very sad.
I know, it's just terrible. It's really terrible, because there are some very much better photos of him that are in that stock, and they always pick those terrible ones. Poor guy.
I can't help but think that it is purposeful. Dave Milner in chat says, "We'll see if that operates and whether future Trump administration policy is conservative or globalist."
Right, and so globalist,
like what people are saying Jared Kushner is. They're saying he's a globalist.
Right, there's a lot of people saying that, but is there any proof
I don't know
at all anywhere? Are there any quotes? They're putting us on mind trips. And I don't know Kushner. I want some quotes. I keep getting into this with Lee Stranahan on Twitter. He's going down this thing about, this is a gossip, and just ripping apart this idea that there's any strength in the administration. They're all just falling apart in gossip. And I'm thinking to myself, how they did not get to where they are. Again, they did not get to where they are if they're just going to let it all fall apart on gossip. They're not a bunch of women, for heaven's sake. I can't believe that this chaos is happening.
No, that's very true. Tell you what, 30 seconds before we go to the break, Kari Baxter Donovan, who is the East Coast political goddess, and I've called her that for a reason, and you're beginning to understand why. Before we go to the break, Kari Baxter Donovan, what I'd like to do is have you, I don't know if you have a computer in front of you or not, maybe you do. Maybe during the break, can you peek and see if you can discover whether there are, in fact, any quotes from Jared Kushner to give us any kind of an insight on the man?
I'll look again.
Okay,
I'll
great.
be doing that. I've been doing it. I'll do it again. I'll see if I find anything.
Cool, folks. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk more to Kari Baxter Donovan. Please, don't go away.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying coffee is stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sako as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where insanity reigns supreme and safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, it's comforting to know an ancient, fat, long-haired, bearded reprobate has your mind in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, and despite every attempt by the SHR Media Network to revoke his shameless contract, we return to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
Well, that was certainly a very smooth segue and transition. Not. The problem is I'm running all my music off of one doggone computer over here. Anyway, it's all technical, and everyone knows
You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
I can't run anything technical at all, and everyone knows that to be true. So
you're doing a fantastic job. You got me to listen to a video online. So give yourself credit for that.
Well, that's right. I forgot. I'm brilliant.
Yeah, you are. Right, there you go. Okay, so let's go on. Yes.
All righty. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon on Thursday night, and I call this the aftermath because it's basically all the shite that I couldn't fit into the Tuesday show, didn't Bigfoot into the Wednesday show from Sackheads Radio last night. And we are talking to Kari Baxter Donovan, who is, in fact, the East Coast political goddess. And while we are on a break, I was curious if perhaps she could find anything out as to, does Jared Kushner have any kind of public opinions about anything? And so I'm kind of curious. I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't find anything.
I can't find anything. Again, I can't find anything. And I've been looking for days. I started a Twitter campaign to ask Eric Trump and Roger Stone and others, I can't imagine that they don't answer my tweets. But anyway, asking them, could you give me a money quote? Could you give me a quote? Could you tell me what is this based on? And there's no answer. Now, of course, they're not going to answer me on Twitter. They probably didn't even see it. But I have been looking around, and it's so confusing. So I think it's just the gossip, just watching how the gossip rolls out, right? I'm looking at this article in the New Yorker, and it's just a hatchet job on there's poor Steve Bannon. He looks like he's homeless and disheveled, and I feel like I want to get a blanket for him. The photos that they take of this guy, but talking basically about how Steve Bannon called him a cuck. Now, that's put in quotes, but do we have anybody who heard it?
Well, all they have to do is allege it.
What all of this has started from, okay, is that Steve Bannon called him a globalist cuck. And, of course, that's speaking to Steve Bannon's fans and supporters, because we've played with that word cuck.
It's
right?
overused. It's way overused.
It's overused, but it had its time and its place and its purpose during the campaign. It was very effective for what it needed to be. I don't know that many people are using it now, but they try to use our little jargon against us. And all I can think of is Steve Bannon didn't call him a cuck. There's no way Steve Bannon is going to call the son-in-law of the President of the United States a globalist cuck.
Yeah, especially if you like your job.
Right? And he's not an idiot, and how are you going to work with somebody? And what that illustrates to me is that we're winning so much that they can't figure out how to try to knock us down, other than to make up ridiculous stories that only children could believe.
That's like me.
Really, Steve Bannon is he's not an idiot.
No. But that's like me walking up to my captain when I was actually employed and saying, hey, by the way, your executive lieutenant, your right-hand guy, is a cuck. That'd be a really smart thing to do, to walk into the captain's office and say that if I valued being there.
Right. Because while, you made a great point that things change from the campaign and then you actually get there, right? But you don't completely change your entire character.
No.
So, yes, you would change. That is a great point. That things that are going to have to change, and you're not going to be able to do exactly what you say or thought you were going to do.
Well, I saw that in Obama. Here's what I think happened. Obama is a go nowhere, do nothing, just vote present kind of senator who got somewhere because he had the proper melanin count, and he was quite well educated, as we all know, and he spoke well. He could give a good speech. And it was time for a black guy to be installed in the presidency. He found his right time. Timing was everything for Barack Hussein Obama. But I think once he got installed and sat down in the Oval Office the very first day and had a whole host of people sitting at a long table, and they gave him his first PDB, the first President's Daily Brief, he realized, holy crap, what have I walked into? And I think a lot of that happened with Donald Trump as well. I don't think it can't not happen with anyone who walks into the presidency.
Absolutely. It's a lot bigger. And, it happens to all of us in our own lives. We think we have something under control, and then we walk into it and think, hey, anybody who's raised a child, it's a lot harder than it looks like, on television. So, right, of course, there's going to be something like, wow, this is much bigger. I think he even made the comment that that China didn't have the power over North Korea that he thought that they had. Of course, the media is going to use that to bash him around the head. And I'm thinking, well, of course, you don't know until you actually get in there and find out and talk to the people who are really involved. You have access at that level.
You have to take what he says with a grain of sand, or sometimes a bucket of sand, depending. We voted for him. People voted for him specifically because he was not a politician. So as of that, he doesn't have any real his setting switch. His switch for political correctness, well, there is no switch for it. And he's had a history of enough money to be able to distance himself from that because, frankly, he couldn't care less if people thought he was politically correct or not. Now he's installed in the presidency. He's discovered that things have to change. So he'll tell you what he thinks, but he may not have the right tools verbally in which to express what it is that he's thinking. And Kari Baxter Donovan, I think one perfect example of this is when he said Obama wiretapped him. That's the wrong term. He misspoke.
Right.
You could say that. He misspoke. It's actually surveillance. No one gets wiretapped anymore. It's all over the internet. But they're all on him because he didn't use the specific kind of very technical weasel words that you expect out of most weaselly politicians. I've got an article from the New York Times, and I'd like your input on this. I'm going to read the article, and first listen to how everything the New York Times does, the Gray Lady, is purposeful. It's incredibly purposeful.
Oh, yeah.
And how they write it, how they craft it, what they say, the way they say it, and what they leave out tells you exactly what you need to know about the New York Times. Here's the headline. A Republican wins in Kansas. It's still a loss for the GOP. Okay, even at the headline right now, in the headline, the first thing they say is, okay, GOP won. Okay, they won that particular seat. It was sort of a special election to replace Mike Pompeo, who left from Kansas and now is on Trump's cabinet. But even though, see, here's the thing, Kari, he won, he lost. He won, he lost. But the most important thing to take away from that article is he's lost. He's a loser. Here's how the article goes.
We're all losers, right?
Here's how it starts. The season's special congressional elections are being heralded as a test of whether newly energized Democrats will fare better with an unpopular Republican president. So far, the Democrats are passing the test. They're passing the test. On Tuesday, Republicans won an unexpectedly close race in Kansas' 4th Congressional District. The Republican Ron Estes won by 7 points over James Thompson, even though President Trump won the district by 27 points in November. No Democrat holds a House seat as Republican as this one, so it's startling. See, it's all about the words. Kari, it's startling. It's startling that the seat was even competitive. Kari Baxter Donovan, let me ask you a question. Do you think, for fuck's sake, that the Democrats poured as much money as they possibly can behind their candidate, James Thompson, because they didn't want to? I mean, if they lost huge to Ron Estes, oh my God, the terrible things. Well, we can't lose huge. We don't want to lose at all. Hawk, stop the presses, throw as much money as you possibly can into Kansas, and that's what they did.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a special election. People don't turn out for special elections. That's
the other thing.
So they got people.
We
all know the jig is up. Listen, the jig is up. Go ahead and go and get, pull all of your tricks, like have it be on have your election on a day where everybody's working, and then give all the teachers the day off. We know all of the tricks that they play all of the time, and they're ridiculous. And so now it used to make me so angry to read this stuff when Obama was in office, and now that Trump's in office, it just makes me laugh because they're not going to get anywhere. They're not going to get anywhere. The jig is up. They're finished. They can write these stupid stories. They're crazy.
You're gonna love this next paragraph.
Okay.
Again, it's hot. It's what they do. It's what Democrats do. It's what leftists do. It's why the newsrooms all across the fruited plain lean to the left. 95 to 97% folks vote Democrat. Period. End of statement. Here's the next paragraph. In general, it's a mistake to read too much into a single special election. Really? Then why are you fucking trying to read too much into a single special election? Why are you writing that it's too much to read into a single special election?
Crazy.
Yeah, then,
so
what the hell? Then they say,
gosh.
They are prone to odd results. Okay, so you just said in 2 sentences that to have won by not a fantastic margin is no big deal. Then they say that's because there's less time for recruitment, fundraising, or even opposition research. There isn't a national campaign going on at the same time. Just like you, okay, here we go. Just like you said, the turnout is often low and variable. But the Kansas result is not a great sign for the Republicans, and it's hard to dismiss. The Gray Lady has spoken. It's hard to dismiss. It's a mistake to read too much into a single special election, but it's too hard to dismiss.
They're just so ridiculous. And now, does that translate to more votes for them anywhere ever at all? I know, because they have been losing and losing and losing and losing. So I really don't care if they write their stupid stories anymore. I don't even care if they have their stupid resist movements and indivisible and all of that stuff, because they're not winning anything. So they think like if they can control and dominate the media, they're going to win. And they keep playing the same play over and over. They cannot readjust. They cannot readjust their thinking, their behavior, their policies, nothing. They keep doing it. Oh, well, if we just try it one more time. Okay, so go ahead, you keep trying that over and over and over again, and we'll be over here winning elections and winning with things like, look at the things that Trump has done outside of this whole Stephen Bannon and Kushner thing, all the stuff that's going on in the last couple of weeks, the winning. And he's not even been in office for, 12 weeks now, 13 weeks? And do you even remember when Obama was in office? Like, that was a million years ago with all the stuff that's been going on, with all the good things that Trump has been doing. So the article is hilarious, and it just makes me laugh at how stupid they are. But they're not going to, it doesn't really benefit them.
It's an interesting, I like to point this out because as I frequently put on the masthead at bloviatingzeppelin.net, I am pushback. And the reason, I'll admit it, I admire honesty and clarity. And my honesty and my clarity is this. I exist to be pushback to the left because there are so many media outlets that won't tell you that they lean left, but in fucking fact, of course, they lean left. I'll tell you that I lean to the right, but I exist here to point out the things that other people won't point out. Mike Pasqua in chat said, in terms of that election, is 7% really that close? That's an excellent question, Mike. Hey, what if Trump had won the actual tally of the vote by 7%? That would have been huge, and he would have taken advantage of that. What if Hillary Clinton had won by 7% and won by 7% in the Electoral College as well? You don't think she wouldn't take advantage of that? Mike, you're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
I think that what they're doing there is it was originally projected at 31%. And so in their minds, and I went and I looked on Twitter to see some of these indivisible people writing about that. In their minds, they closed that gap from 31% to 7%. So to them, they're saying that that's a big victory. And, of course, they're using that to encourage their base, which, as, you know, volunteers and people who are out pushing grassroots, that is encouraging if you can, but it's also completely insane. So, and anybody who's on their side and their grassroots is got to be insane.
It's true, but you're right. They have to make a stand. They have to make a stand, and they have to make a stand right now. They have to push back, and they have to push back right now. They have to make hay in the shade of the 90-90 tree while they still can to point out that, all right, we lost. But we're not losers. We only lost by 7%. Ultimately, special elections are still elections. They reflect the national political environment in nearly the same way as regularly scheduled contests. There just happen to be a few more outlying results. So they're saying, all right, he won, but not by much. And
I mean, the fact that a Republican won a special election, that in itself is huge, because usually you can't get Republicans to come out to special elections because
they're working, they're busy working, they have jobs,
or we're taking care of children, and we have like lives. And so I've worked polls before for special elections, and it's so disheartening because it will be huge, major issues with tons of money at stake, and it's all Democrats. because they'll have gotten the day off or whatever little tricks they've played on the ballot. Yeah. So I think that it was probably it was a big 7% is excellent.
Let me read you another.
And victory is also excellent.
Oh, yeah. Hey, listen. What do you call a doctor who passes his final boards by only 70%?
A doctor?
Doctor.
You call him doctor.
Right, exactly. Doctor.
Right.
Let me read you another paragraph.
Okay. I can't take much more, but all right.
Okay. I'll stop some of it, but I got to give you the juicy, buttery goodness out of this one.
Get it. All right, I'm ready. I'm ready for it. Give it to me.
There are extenuating circumstances, as there often are. The Kansas Republican Party is deeply unpopular under the leadership of the governor, Sam Brownback, and Mr. Estes is the state treasurer in Mr. Brownback's administration. Stop. Let me tell you what's happening in Kansas right now under Sam Brownback. There's a state attorney general in Kansas. I think his name is Kolbach, something like that. I don't have his name correct. You can Google it and find out. But basically, what he did is he has now had a series of wins against people, illegal aliens, who were involved in voter fraud.
Right.
Why the Democrats hate Sam Brownback is because he gave his Secretary of State the ability to prosecute people like this. And actually, he's getting results. He's won 8 cases in a row now, just in Kansas. And everyone says, 8 cases, that doesn't mean anything. Right, because the trotting line out of the left is the fact that, there's no voter fraud, and there's no voter fraud on the part of leftists at all. And illegal aliens? Oh my God, that's not right. That just can't be true. But that's why they hate Kansas. That's why they hate Brownback. Brownback gave his people the ability to prosecute, as should be done, people who vote irregularly or conduct voter fraud. And again, that's what it all ties together in this big circular world of it all. See, that's the slant that you're going to get out of the New York Times. And I just had to read that one to you too. But unless you know those sorts of things and you read that paragraph and you blow by it, okay, all right, everybody hates the Republican Party in Kansas. Well, that's what I got out of that. All right, what else is new?
Everybody needs to have you in their little headspace back there saying, this is how you interpret, this is how you filter this story, and then they'll know.
But you shouldn't need a translator for the New York Times. You shouldn't need a translator for the media right now. There is no Walter Cronkite anymore. And even when you think back and you listen to some of the things that Walter Cronkite said in the past, some of the stuff that he said was pretty far left as well. He kind of meaned himself out, but he wasn't the golden god that everyone thought he was. Here's the last paragraph in that particular article. Republican struggles are to be expected. The party has full control of government and its president is unpopular. These are the circumstances that often end in so-called wave elections, like the ones that swept Democrats into power in 2006 and out of the House in 2010. We might well be heading for another. Translation: we're rubbing our hands together. This thing with the election, the special election, that means the Republicans are doomed. They're doomed. They're absolutely
And so
doomed.
they're spending all of their time trying to control the media and control the message. And they never stop to think, they being the left, never stop to think, hey, what can we do to start winning some elections? I missed this opportunity last week, but I thought it was really interesting. There was this very leftist film festival at Duke University.
A what
I've
festival?
gone to a couple of times. It's a film festival.
Film festival, okay.
Indie films and documentaries, film festival. And they have it over at Duke University, and they have these open things called their speakeasies where they go and it's free and to the public, and you listen to how all of these filmmakers how they've gotten to where they are. And last year, the theme was basically using film in documentaries for politics, right? To shape the narrative and and of course we know that they do that, but here they are talking about it out in the open, free to the public, and I'm like, okay, so at least they're coming out of the closet and they're being honest. Well, this year's theme was, and I didn't make it, darn it, but it would have been interesting, but it's noteworthy anyway, was, hey, we screwed up, and is there something wrong with us that we don't seem to know the American public? How did Trump win? And that was the topic of their speakeasy this year at the Indie Film Festival, the leftist utopia. At least they're acknowledging, wait a minute, we might not really know the American public as well as we think we do, because Trump won in a landslide. So, I was happy to see that they could at least start accepting some reality, but also frightened, because then I thought, oh no, what are they going to do now, right? What kind of malarkey are they going to come up with now that they figured out that they don't know the American public?
Dave Milner in chat said the right thing, the phrase that I was trying to think of. What they're doing is writing, and what they're writing is, they hope, a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
The last sentence in that story is this: at a minimum, the Kansas result is fully consistent with that possibility. Meaning, the tide, you know what, Democrats? The tide is turning. The worm turns finally. On one little
But it's all in
election.
their imagination, because it's not actually turning.
So what, Kari Baxter Donovan, what is the theory that the Democrats are using now? What's their platform? What's their plan for making sure, to ensure that they go back into power? Their theory is,
logic.
Left didn't work, let's go lefter.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, they always want to go lefter.
Let's double down on stupid, because stupid didn't win for us before. So if we go extra buttery, extra crispy stupid, maybe that will work. What did Albert Einstein say?
He said a lot of interesting things. What did he say? What?
He said, what is the definition of insanity?
Oh, right. Doing the same thing over and over again.
There you go.
Getting no results. So, right. And but the thing that's really fascinating is that they never readjust their thinking to anything, to any statistics. You can give them numbers, data, facts. You can point out things to them in their own lives. This is what we do all the time in voter engagement, trying to get them to understand, listen, if you want to vote your values, your values are over here in the Republican Party. Now, never, the hardcore, the media-ites, and the hardcore leftists never can acknowledge that. But we have been peeling those people away over the last few years. That's why you have this huge independent movement, right, and the libertarian movement. Most of those people used to be leftists. I used to be a leftist.
Me too.
I think Steve Bannon was a leftist, right? You were a leftist. Many people, Andrew Breitbart was a leftist at one time. So we start to come over to the center, and then we start going more right, because really the heart of the country is conservative. There are more, we've always known this. Even George Bush, too. He sent Karl Rove out to talk to us, and we have to do it this way. Remember, he was trying to get everybody to move back towards his centrist and leftist views, because we were all going too far right, and Karl Rove was out there trying to, beg us, please don't leave the president, please don't leave the president. So this has been going on for a long time. But there's these hardcore leftists, and I want to give them a little pat on the head and say, you're so cute, but you're stupid. Why do you keep going further to the left?
Okay, here's a comment.
Obviously insane. What?
Here's a comment from chat. Dave Milner says, Rove is the spawn of Satan. So, 30 seconds before I hit the break. Kari Baxter Donovan, East Coast political goddess that you are, you're welcome to come back after the break. If you have to go now, I perfectly understand. If you come back from the break, then I'm going to attempt to pick your brain on world events that are occurring right now. Would you like to stay, or do you have to go? I understand either way.
Well, hey, I'd like to stay because I wanted to tell you about a story here in North Carolina, so you can pick my brain if I can tell you my story.
Oh, okay, cool.
About Elaine about Elaine Marshall in voter fraud here in North Carolina. This
I
could be a
want to
big
hear
story.
that. I want to hear that. People,
Okay.
we're going to take a break right now. It's the bottom of the hour. Depending on which continent you're on, it's either, let me see, it's either 12:30 on the East Coast, it's 9:30 on the West Coast. In Bolivia, it's 10:22 and 30 seconds. Be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Breaking news. According to the latest report coming out of SHR Media, a merchandise store to support both the Reaver of Common Sense and SHR Media has just been unleashed to the general public. Be forewarned that this site can be contagious and numerous items can be purchased to support the best news programming. Go to Reaver.one website and click on the store link to check out the merchandise.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying cough was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sako as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch the Reaver Common Sense Show, hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on SHRmedia.com and HighPlainsDailyNews.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else, so consider this your fair warning.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Doing the job the American media maggots won't. Fundamentally changing America. One diaper at a time. Here is, courtesy of the SHR Media Network, the bloviating Zeppelin.
Thank you. Thank you ever so much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being in chat. Thanks for listening in podcast. I get the funny feeling that the most people listen in podcast because I have to thank the people that are in chat right now, however. I have to thank Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy, who has his own show on SHR, the SHR Media Network. I'd like to thank Mike for being in chat. I'd like to thank White Mamba for being in chat, our resident attorney at law. And I should like to remind everyone that we are speaking live and direct to Kari, Baxter, Donovan, whom White Mamba quantifies as the ECPG, the East Coast political goddess, and goddess she is. It should be no surprise. Is it a surprise? It's no surprise at all. So, Kari, Baxter, Donovan, you said that you had some news. What's the news?
Well, yeah, so am I losing you on your sound?
I can hear you quite fine. Can you hear me?
Okay, awesome. It just slowed down a little bit, but that's okay. So I wanted to tell you about a story that I'm a little bit on the inside of because I actually have some contacts on this one, some sources. So I feel like a real reporter now. Yay!
Cool. I just want to know: is it salacious?
It's salacious. Okay, so Elaine Marshall, who is the Attorney General of North Carolina. Yeah. Okay, so she won. She beat out my guy, Michael LaPaglia, for the Secretary of State. She's been there for like forever and a day. Well, right before the election, Michael LaPaglia had come out and he said he basically had this debate with her saying, you have been hiring notaries that are illegal aliens. And she pointed her crooked little finger at him on this television debate, which I have on my Twitter. No, I'm not. And she's, no, I'm not doing that, blah, blah, blah. Well, so anyway, she goes on and she wins the election and he loses for Secretary of State, which was so disappointing to me because I worked really hard on that campaign. And I kept in touch with Michael, and I was just like, I think there was something to do with voter fraud on that. I'm not quite sure. So anyway, voter fraud in North Carolina because of the way that our governor, Cooper, who replaced Pat McCrory, Pat McCrory's over in the administration doing something now, Trump administration. Anyway, Cooper won with all of these absentee ballots, like in the middle of the night. Oh, if there's another 10,000, that's not the real number, but some big, huge amount of absentee ballots, right? And it was all this absentee ballot back and forth, and there's lawsuits, there's all kinds of stuff, and then all of a sudden it just stopped, and Pat McCrory then went off to the administration, and I was kind of like, I'm not quite sure what that's all about, because it looked like he was going to win. Well, anyway, fast forward now, which it seems like years, but it's really been weeks because of all of the stuff that's been going on. It's only been weeks that this new administration has been in place, right, including Elaine Marshall back in her position. Anyway, Chris, his name is Chris Mills, and he has leveled serious charges against the Secretary of State, which include granting over 250 notary public commissions to illegal aliens.
Oh,
okay?
Nice.
So, and I was there at the press conference, and he was so nice to me because I'm like, I'm not really the press, but can I get all that paper? And he handed me all of his research and everything, very well written. But basically, so some people are, like, well, what's the big deal? So what? Who cares about notary publics being illegal aliens? And the violation of it's a violation of state and federal law by apparently routinely accepting DACA cards in lieu of green cards as proof of legal residency.
Great.
What it really basically comes down to is, in North Carolina, do you know what notary publics do? They verify the absentee ballot.
Oh, really?
Yes. So that's to the point where I've been on some debates with people and on some debate sites with people talking about this, where they say that, there's this there's a Supreme Court ruling, blah, 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 that illegal aliens can be, notaries, except in this place, except for where they are involved in government. Which here in North Carolina, it's they who verify the absentee ballots. So this could be a big story, and I've heard from people that it will be a big story. It's rolling out very slowly. It was about 2 weeks ago, I think, that it came out, and it was in Breitbart in a couple of places. But most people here in the GOP think it's not going to be a big deal. I think it is going to be a big deal because do you know who would have given her the authorization? Who would have given her the authorization to bypass state and federal law? Would have been the Attorney General at the time, who was Roy Cooper, the governor.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. So,
nice.
in my fantasies, they're all going down. My fantasy is the voter fraud's going to get exposed, the governor's going down, and the Secretary of State, so that my friend Michael LaPaglia can get back into office there. That's what I'm hoping.
If I can pound off a support for Jeff Dunnett's Yid with a lid on the Yid blog, he had an article not too long ago in which, and I find this quite heartening, it appears as though the AG is going to go after Lois Lerner. Isn't that great?
Yes. I just read that. Mm-hmm. Got it up right here. Yes.
It's overdue, but tell you what, the statute of limitations are not up, so I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
Things are finally starting to turn around just a little bit, old Kari, Baxter, Donovan, and that's why I go to you.
I think
that was a great story. So you think it's going to go mainstream here in a bit?
Well, I've heard from some of my sources, just hang on, something big is coming in the next week or so. So we'll see. I hope so. They're not giving up on it. My friend here, AP Dillon at American Lens, wrote a story in the 10th, not going away. So
what kind of
I'm
numbers
excited.
do they
I think
have?
this might be a fun story.
Oh, it could be a great story. Especially, what kind of numbers did they have, did you say? Or do they even know what kind of numbers they're looking at for absentees?
Well, it's all up in the air. So that's somebody who was on an SHR program was talking about all the numbers. The numbers are inconclusive. They're so crazy and all over the place.
Okay.
Because they found boxes literally in the middle of the night and pulled out all of this data. Now, my friend Jay Delancey, who works at Voter Integrity Project, he's been doing a lot of things with overturning fraudulent votes from dead people and, that kind of thing. But the absentee ballot, I don't know that they've really done much looking at that in all of this talk about voter fraud until now.
Isn't that kind of judgmental saying that about dead people? They have rights too, Just ask Chicago.
They do. And here in North Carolina, they have rights to vote like numerous times. Yeah, they have more rights than we have.
Well, I think Chicago had they got first choice on that. Hey, here's the article that I was telling you about from the Kansas City Star. And I did get this guy's name right. Secretary of State Chris Kobach announces first conviction of non-citizen voting in Kansas. Kansas Secretary of State. Okay, I guess I was right on that, too. It was the Secretary of State. Chris Kobach said Wednesday that he has obtained his first conviction of a person who illegally voted in a Kansas election without being a U.S. citizen. I hope the floodgates are open on this now. It has to be. It must. The Lois Lerner thing, this, some of the financial things that we're talking about. I think Toyota also said that in the past week that they're going to improve or build a new plant here in the United States, but that's not stuff that you're going to find. That's not stuff that you're going to read much in the American media maggots at all.
Nope. And so the 320 DACA cards were marked accepted in lieu of green cards. 100 other EAC cards were accepted in lieu of green cards. More than 250 illegal aliens were granted notary public commissions. One of them, by the way, was on the docket to be deported.
Wonderful.
Yet he was still, right, and an additional 72 aliens of various immigration status were granted commissions of notary publics. But as far as like how many absentee ballots are we looking at, well, enough to have thrown the race, right? The entire race was based on absentee ballots here for our governorship, which...
Anymore, I don't know if you do or not, but anymore, I vote almost completely absentee now.
I voted absentee this last time.
It's just much more convenient for me. Kari Baxter Donovan, I'd like to read another article to you, and I'd like your input.
This is more reading time.
Yes, it is. It's reading time. That's exactly what it is. I hope you have a fire going and you're roasting marshmallows right now. This is from the ACLJ. Have you ever visited the ACLJ or aware of what it is?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes,
I have.
Mm-hmm.
It's Jay Sekulo's baby. And his son
he's
Jordan
awesome.
is in on that as well. And they, let's see, Jay Sekulow has a radio show, and I think Jordan co-hosted it last night. The ACLJ is the American Center for Law and Justice, and they frequently sue the government under Freedom of Information Act suits in order to extract by legal force information out of the government that the government wants to hide as much as possible, humanly possible. Now, this article that I'm going to read is from the ACLJ.org, and the headline is The Obama Administration's Long History of Weaponizing the Bureaucracy to Target Its Political Opponents Because They've Found More Linkage. It is outrageous, unconscionable, and illegal. Even so, mounting evidence indicates the Obama administration and its loyalists had a habit of using information gleaned from classified foreign surveillance to smear and perhaps blackmail. That's a strong word in an article. It's political opponents. In fact, whether it's the IRS scandal or spying on Israeli officials lobbying against the Iran nuclear deal, the practice didn't begin until 2016. Even in the original collection of information may have been legal under current circumstances, the evidence shows the subsequent unmasking, disclosure, and leaking constitutes an illegal abuse of power. Targeting political opponents did not start with former National Security Advisor Susan Rice's decision to rifle through classified transcripts for over a year, apparently, in an effort to snaffle information about members of Trump's operation. Nor did it start with the issuance of a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act FISA court warrant, allowing investigators to monitor an informal advisor of the Trump campaign, Carter Page. That was revealed 2 days ago, for people who are not aware. Indeed, news reports indicate the Obama administration previously advanced targeted surveillance in order to stifle debate about the proposed Iran nuclear deal. Any thoughts on that, Kari Baxter Donovan?
Well, it's just outrageous, isn't it? It's just outrageous. It's all the stuff that we sort of had suspected was going on, and now we're just getting confirmation. Jay's awesome. His work is awesome. And that he just throws blackmail out there. Of course, yes, it was blackmail. And
in today's legal environment, because he's an attorney, that's a very strong word to use in an article supported by the ACLJ.
He must have to have some, and he must have to have some proof of that.
I would hope so.
Right? We'll find out, because they're gonna the left. One would think would jump and scream and yell about that and make a big deal about it, and push him to have to prove that is truthful. Let's see.
The article continues. It says, in essence, the Obama administration conducted surveillance on Israeli officials that also swept up the contents of some of their private conversations with U.S. lawmakers and American Jewish groups. Lee Smith, writing in Tablet Magazine, notes that such spying efforts were done in order to help the Obama White House fight its domestic political opponents rather than keep the nation safe from national security threats. He continues.
Right, and didn't it just come out that... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Please continue.
Didn't it just come out that he's actually was using British intelligence?
Yes, and
against Trump?
I spoke about that earlier. The Guardian, and I talked about this earlier before you came on. The Guardian came out with an article today confirming that GCHQ, let's see, and I put it this way, Judge Andrew Napolitano said over 2 months ago that he believes that you didn't need a FISA court to get this information on Trump and his administrators, people who were working on the campaign, because all he had to do is make sort of a sub rosa query across the pond to the UK, MI6, or whoever else may be involved, and say, hey, can you do us a little deal? Can you kind of clue into some of this stuff? Now, that's GCHQ in the UK, the United Kingdom. That's what Judge Andrew Napolitano said. He said he had 3 sources indicating that that's where they got the information, and then it came across the pond over here to the United States, and then that was used. It was weaponized, essentially, against Trump and his people here. Judge Napolitano, after saying that, was kicked off of Fox News. About 2 weeks later, Judge Andrew Napolitano came back.
Yes.
Now he's back.
Right.
Now we have an article from the UK saying GCHQ did have contact and did surveil the information, and they sent it back over to the United States. I wonder how that got started. Someone made a phone call. Someone made an inquiry. No one wants to put all of this together, though, and it all dovetails. It's like I said before, I used to work for the federal government. To get a wiretap lawfully, there's the deal, lawfully, you had to go to a FISA court. Or if you wanted to get when I used to do it, you had to get a pen register or a Title III. You had to specifically go to a court and apply for a warrant. Hello, I'm your affiant, blah, blah, blah. There's your hero page, etc. And now we find out, no, you don't even have to do any of that shite. You can just get your friends to do it. And then they come back, and then they can shoot at what was to become President Trump. Okay, I got to stop you for just a second. There's a person in chat. Mike says, hey, what's Kari's Twitter? Can you tell people in chat where you can be found on Twitter?
Sure. At Twitter, I am at Happit, Happit, 1776.
Okay. Dave is making fun. He says, Mike, I believe it's at Mr. Exceptional One. Nice try, Dave. Nice try. Very nice.
But the thing is that's shocking to me is I'm hearing all of these stories, all of these things that we suspected for so many years about Obama and what a wanker he is, and all the things that he's done are true and bigger, and it's coming out. But the thing is, they still couldn't win. They couldn't beat him with all of this corruption. It also makes me think, sometimes I think Trump must be squeaky clean, because they had every way to Sunday that they're, observing him. And they what do they have? They have him in a bus with a guy saying a word. It's like, shouldn't they have many stories from all of this surveillance of him?
Which they sat on, by the way, all that information they sat on until it was convenient and Trump was, in fact, the nominee, and then he became the president-elect. And then it was, oh, my God, it's terrible. Okay, so you have Bill Clinton, however, who used a cigar on women and may have raped women and was a serial
they had this much surveillance on Clinton.
Yes.
Right, he probably had, porno movies for the next century.
Yeah,
but with Trump, that's all they had on him? And
yes,
they should have all this evidence of Russian spying, if it was really going on, because they had him surveilled from the time he woke up in the morning for how many years? I went in the WikiLeaks and I was looking to see when was the first mention of spying on Trump, and I found stuff from 2009. So
I said this earlier. I wrote about it last week, and I said it last night on Sackheads. I believe that the actual serious surveillance, specifically by Obama, because the information came back to him, occurred in 2011. And you and I both know what occurred in 2011. That's when Donald Trump began the first time to sort of gather things together to consider having a serious run against Obama as president.
Right.
That's where the birth certificate issue came out, so to speak, in 2011.
Right.
And so Obama took him as such a serious candidate that in lieu of going and monitoring the intelligence agencies when that night they were going to take out Osama bin Laden, he decided instead to attend a journalist dinner where he knew that Donald Trump would be in attendance. That's how serious a candidate he put at stake in Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I believe that he began to surveil him back then. He considered him a very, very serious kind of guy, even back then. So I think it continued. The article continues also to say, and again, this is all finally getting exposed. This is also an interesting paragraph. In essence, the Obama administration conducted surveillance on, wrong sentence. It should surprise no one, therefore, to discover that Obama loyalists deployed similar surveillance techniques to collect classified information on members of the Trump team and then selectively leak such information to compliant members of the news media, hello New York Times, hello Wall Street Journal, in order to delegitimize such officials. This is all very pointed here, too. We already know this. Kari, you know this. People listening live right now, people listening in chat and on the podcast. After all, this is the same administration that targeted Fox News reporter James Rosen for doing his job in reporting how the North Korean government would respond to the imposition of UN sanctions. To be sure, not all targeting involved surveillance conducted by the NSA or others. For instance, members of the Obama administration with the Internal Revenue Service targeted Obama's political opponents by denying some grassroots conservative groups the tax-exempt status that they deserved under the law. Stop. Anybody also remember Devin Nunes? We haven't heard much about him. He's recused himself. That was the wrong thing to have done. And I'm going to have to wrap this up because it's kind of getting close to the end. Do you remember Devin Nunes when he exposed on the Hugh Hewitt show? He happened to say, by the way, is anyone aware that it appears that the phones in the Senate chambers in the cloakroom are under surveillance as well? That went nowhere. Do you remember hearing anything about that?
I remember that.
That
story.
was under Obama.
At the time that it was going to be big, and nothing happened, right?
Then the senators themselves, Dianne Feinstein was all pissed off about it when they were surveilled as well by Obama. And still, no umbrage. It's okay. It's Obama. No problem. No big deal. We can understand it.
Yeah, and where is Obama, by the way? Where did he disappear to? He just kind of disappeared off to where, Tahiti or something? Really weird.
We know he has a house just outside D.C. We know he just had a wall built in front of it because he's occupied there. He's staying in D.C. allegedly to keep his kids in school so he doesn't have to yank them out of school. Here's the thing that I find about the creepiest of it all. Who's living with him?
Oh, that's Valerie Jarrett. While Michelle is off doing paddleboarding, I think she's in Tahiti, right? I don't know. But
how incredibly creepy is it to have Valerie Jarrett in your house with your kids, and conversely, Kari Baxter Donovan, your wife, says that's okay.
Yeah, they're very odd. They're very odd.
What
but we know
the hell? All right, Kari Baxter Donovan, any final remarks you'd care to say?
No, just thanks for having me on. It was fun. It's a little late for me. Next time I'm going to have to drink some coffee.
Okay, Red Bull.
I'm way over here on the East Coast.
I got to tell you a story real quick before we wrap up and go away. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away when I was still in patrol, and this was in the 80s, I worked for a 2,000 individual sheriff's department for 35 years. And that's where I retired. One day, I decided it'd be a great idea to stop at the 7-Eleven, and I got a 6-pack of Jolt Cola. You're talking about coffee.
Oh.
I got a 6-pack of Jolt Cola, and I had one on the way to work. I had 2 in briefing. I had one after briefing. I had one during the shift and one just about towards the end of the shift. I got the dispatcher so pissed off at me. In a ticket book, there are 25 tickets in a ticket book. In the sheriff's department, it's not needed to be a hot pencil. I went through an entire ticket book in one shift. I gave out 25 tickets that night. The dispatcher was so pissed at me for making vehicle stop after vehicle stop. Oh wait, that's the way it goes. Kari Baxter Donovan, East Coast political goddess. Thank you kindly
that's just hilarious.
For being on the air. Would you ever deign to come back?
I would love to. And like I said, next time I'm not going to drink 6 Jolts, no way, and hand out bad tickets. But I'm coming back.
Okay, we could have.
And I'll be a little.
You could have some coffee or some Red Bull or something like that. Hey, everybody in chat says.
I'll have a little coffee.
Everybody in chat says, "Hey, great show, Kari. Thanks for your call." And Dave says,
so
"Excellent program. What a jolt! Haha. Well done, sir." Kari Baxter Donovan, thank you ever so kindly. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening in chat. I suspect that's where I have my greatest number of listeners. And to all, I say thanks, and come back next week on the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Thank you ever so kindly, folks. God bless. Take care.
We'll meet
and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you'll find me on Twitter at bzep and on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. My original intro music is by Possessed Tranquility at ReverbNation.com, and promotional consideration as per normal is by Lockheed Martin Skunkworks and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. Tiaras, of course, are by My Little Pony. And in less than an hour, you can be assured that I will be conducting personal business with my KC-135 Kettle One refueling team. God bless everyone. Have a great Easter. Literally, God bless. Enjoy your weekend. It's Easter Sunday. Take care, be safe, and come back.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.